Article 18, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,500 to support a share of the services provided to Guilford residents to access counseling and family support services without regard to income from Child and Family Services. Child and Family Services provides accessible and affordable programs to children, youth, and families, leading to stronger family connections, improved school performance, decreased risky behaviors among youth, and better citizenship. From July 1, 2010 through June 30, 2011, 83 Guilford residents received 340 units of service, 92 days of residential care, and 4 weeks of overnight summer camping services, valued at over $23,000 from Child and Family Services. This article is by petition, majority vote required, not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0, not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-4. Is there a petitioner that's prepared to move this article for placement on the official ballot?
Madam Chairman, Madam Moderator, I will move to place Article 18 on the official ballot as presented.
Is there a second to Mr. Hayes' motion?
I'll second it.
May I speak to the motion, please?
Yes, Mr. Hayes.
A couple of things. This is a petition article, and you can see that the Board of Selectmen voted 3-0 against this. We struggle with this every year, and among the three of us, I'm sure there are 3 different philosophies on our thoughts on all of these petition articles. If we had a choice, we would not vote at all. We are mandated to vote by law, and our intent is to make sure that these get on the ballot so the voters can decide. So you should look at our non-recommendation as just, we needed to take a stand to get it on there. That being said, I moved the article because I want it to be before the voters. It's not a decision that the 3 of us should make. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Meg Jenkins, River Road. I stand in support of this article. If I did the math correctly, for every $1 that we spent, our residents receive $7 in services at these numbers. I think it should be higher, but I'd support the $3,500. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor of moving Article 18 for placement on the official ballot, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The article passes. Article 19, shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,236 to support the operation of the Laconia Area Center of Community Action Program. The Laconia Area Center staff provides low-income, elderly, and disabled residents of Guilford assistance with basic needs such as fuel assistance, electric assistance, Meals on Wheels, rental assistance, security deposits for housing, and maintains a food pantry accessible every day during business hours. In 2010, residents of Guilford received more than $589,120 in services through the programs of Community Action Program, Belknap, Merrimack Counties, Inc., and the Laconia Area Center. This article is by petition, majority vote required, not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0, not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-3. Is there a petitioner that would like to move this article for placement on the official ballot?
Judy Scawthorne, 2393 Lakeshore Road, Guilford. I would like to move that Article 19 be placed on the official ballot as presented.
And is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Phyllis Corrigan.
I'll speak to the article.
Thank you.
I'm the Community Services Director for Belknap Merrimack CAP as well as Guilford resident. Our area center is located in Laconia on 106 Belmont Road, and it serves the communities of Laconia, Gillington, Belmont, Alton, Barnstead, as well as Guilford, and we request assistance from all the towns to maintain the area center's operating costs, which is basically the staff. This year's request is 6% less than last year, and we did have a change in staffing, so we realized a decrease, and we passed that decrease on to the towns. It's been pointed out in the article the amount of numbers of dollars that we provide to citizens in Guilford. I'd like to just break that down to some direct service provided by the staff this past year. Fuel assistance, 279 households received over $219,000. We provided over $78,000 to weatherize 16 homes in Guilford, $7,000 in rental assistance, and over 6,000 meals to 46 homebound Guilford residents. I also wanted to put a little bit of a face onto what we really do. Last week I got a call from our weatherization department. An 87-year-old Guilford resident, an elderly lady living on Social Security, had exhausted her benefit, her fuel assistance benefit, and called the Guilford Welfare Director, who authorized a delivery to the home. When the driver got to the home, made the delivery, he went to the house to give the lady her delivery slip, and he detected a very strong and odd odor. He asked permission to enter the home. On inspection, he found the flue pipe from the furnace laying on the basement floor. The house was filled with carbon monoxide, and it was determined the lady was very lucky to still be alive, as well as her pets. The driver reported back to his company, who immediately called our weatherization department at Belknap Merrimack CAP. Unfortunately, weatherization funding at Washington has been drastically cut, and they had no money to repair the furnace. They came down to me, to the Fuel Assistance Department, and because I had funds donated by local businesses, local residents, local organizations, and unrestricted funds for fuel assistance and help, I could then authorize the repair of the furnace to the tune of about $350. That's how we partner with your Guilford Welfare Department. We used other funds, not taxpayer dollars, because I talked with the welfare director on the weekend. She knew that she was going to have to do this because there was a life at stake. But that's how we partner with the town and bring other funds other than tax dollars to provide assistance. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of placing Article 19 on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote, and I so declare it. Article 20. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $13,434 to Genesis Behavioral Health for the delivery of emergency mental health services? These services include access to master's level clinicians and psychiatrists by individuals, schools, police, fire, schools, hospitals, and others, 24 hours per day, 7 days per week. Services are provided to anyone in need, regardless of ability to pay. Genesis Behavioral Health is a community mental health center serving Belknap and southern Grafton counties. We serve 3,270 children, families, adults, and elders in fiscal year 2011, 163 of whom were Guilford residents. Genesis Behavioral Health provided emergency services to 38 Guilford residents in fiscal year 2011. We provided $9,816 in charitable care to Guilford residents. This article is by petition, majority vote required, not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0, not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-3. Is there a petitioner who would like to move this article for placement on the official ballot?
Kelly White, 30 Belknap Mountain Road. I move Article 20 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Is there a second to that? Thank you. Ray Mello Andrews. Is anyone like to speak to Article 20?
And I'll speak fast. Maggie Pritchard, I'm the Executive Director of Genesis Behavioral Health. Genesis is this town's designated community mental health center, and just for clarification, emergency services is the service utilized by those people who are at risk of harming themselves or others as a result of their mental illness. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of placing Article 20 on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote. Article 21. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to support the operations of Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice, doing business as Community Health and Hospice, a local agency that provides visiting nurse services, hospice care, homemaker services for the elderly, and pediatric care to residents of the town of Guilford, New Hampshire. In 2011, residents of Guilford received over 5,900 home visits from Central New Hampshire VNA and Hospice. Town funds are used chiefly to support hospice care, pediatric care to children at medical or social risk, homemaker services for the elderly to allow them to avoid institutionalization, community wellness clinics, caregiver and bereavement support groups, wellness clinics, caregiver and bereavement support groups, and immunization services. This article is by petition, majority vote required, not recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0, not recommended by the Budget Committee by a vote of 8-3. Is there a petitioner who would like to move Article 21 for placement on the official ballot?
Good evening, Madam Moderator. Anne Marie McCary, 36 Timber Lane, and I move to, sorry, I'm not familiar with the verbiage. I motion to move the Article 21 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Perfect, thank you. Is there a second? Mrs. Mellon. Is there anyone who would like to speak to Article 21?
I would please. I'm also an employee, registered nurse of Community Health and Hospice, and this past year we received quite a number of visits. We did 5,900 to approximately 400 Guilford residents, and our uncompensated care to Guilford residents equaled about $58,400. The agency is asking the town to contribute less than half of that amount, and then engages in fundraising activities to raise the remaining 58%.
Mrs. Mellon?
My name is Elida Millam with Belknap Mountain Road, and I just want to very briefly say that in New Hampshire we have a very fragile service system for people, and there is a very strong expectation, especially with block grant programs, that there is local support, and without it the services really might just go away. So I think it's a really very important piece to be appropriated. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Murphy.
Madam Moderator, Skip Murphy, Guilford Glen Road. Every year I seem to come up to be able to say the same thing, so I'm only saying it once for all of these articles, and that I do not believe that morally it should be incumbent upon us to force people to contribute to charities, perhaps against their will, simply by paying the property taxes. Obviously in the news we see at the national level a brouhaha with the federal administration now determining that they can determine what a charity can and cannot do against their sense of conscience. We see that here at the local level as well, that if we put these on the ballot, and if they do pass, we are indeed telling our fellow citizens, our neighbors, that you will, against your will, pay to these charities. And I would ask that my fellow citizens look at themselves and say, do I really wish to do that? Do I want to force my citizens, my neighbors, to give to a charity that otherwise they would not? Because Christian charity comes from the heart, not just by the payment of property taxes.
Thank you.
Meg Jenkins, River Road. I have experience both in the home health industry earlier in my career and for the last 18 as the school nurse here at Guilford High School. And I see these needs as very, very critical to our town. And as I recall correctly, I don't have numbers in front of me, I do believe that this has come up in the last 5 or 6 years as a petitioned article based on recommendations from the public to separate those funds out and not have them as part of the regular operating fund. But I also believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that although there are those that feel that the will, I want to make sure I say it correctly, that we shouldn't be directed by our property taxes to contribute to these. The voters each and every year, I believe, do vote to do this, and I do believe that is the will of the town, based on the services that are received. So I do stand in support of this article, and I do believe we need to support these agencies that are supporting our families and our children. Thank you.
Dr. Aldridge.
Madam Moderator, thank you. I would rise in support of this warrant article. As a healthcare provider and as someone who's seen firsthand an incredible amount of work provided by community health and hospice, regardless of the ability people pay in this community, I think the numbers that were quoted earlier speak to the return, which is much greater than our investment. There are block grants at risk, and I would also submit that this is not actually a charity. This is a functioning entity, much like a fire department, healthcare is something that's quite required just as paving roads and highways. And it's not something that a community really gets to choose, because you'll either pay for it up front in prevention, or you'll pay for this in your tax dollars at the national level and at the state level in the emergency room and other services when the community support fails. So it's really a much broader reaching problem. And once again, it's democracy at work, and if you get it in front of the people, they'll have the opportunity to vote whether they choose to fund it or not. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of placing Article 21 on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote. Article 22. Shall the town vote to establish a fire training center trust fund pursuant to RSA 31:19-A, subject to the custody and investment provisions applicable to trust funds under RSA 31:19 for the maintenance and operation of the fire training center, and appoint the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend. The fund shall be an expendable trust fund in which principal and interest may be appropriated and expended. Furthermore, to see if the town will vote to authorize the acceptance of privately donated gifts, legacies, and devices for the maintenance and operation of the fire training center as set forth herein, provided, however, that such gifts, legacies, or devices shall be invested and accounted for separately from and not commingled with any amounts hereafter appropriated into the fund. Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0. Mr. Benavides.
Madam Chairwoman, I make a motion that we move Article 22 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Hayes. Chief Carrier, would you like to comment on this?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. As we began to use our training facility, which we did this morning actually, it became apparent to us that there were going to be some costs involved with that in upkeeping of the building, but also we established user fees for those departments that would come in from other communities to use our facility. Unfortunately, we were unable to collect those fees legally, and we were also unable to pay for any of our people to work at the facility out of those funds. So I consulted with Town Administrator Dunn. He came up with this method of establishing a trust fund for those donations that we would receive to be deposited into, and then in turn we could expend the monies as necessary on the items as listed in the warrant article for maintenance and upkeep of the building, but also for paying any of our personnel that may have to work over there if an outside agency were to come in and use the facility.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor of placing Article 22 on the official ballot, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote. Article 23. Shall the town vote to completely discontinue a small triangular portion of the Harris Shore Road Class 5 highway, right-of-way, consisting of approximately .03 plus or minus acres, 1,348 plus or minus square feet, as tentatively shown on a plan entitled A Plan to Discontinue and Convey a Portion of Harris Shore Road, dated January 18, 2012, and available for public access at the Guilford Municipal Offices. Furthermore, shall the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey to the Leo and Madeline McGrath Grantor Trust or their successors as the abutting landowners the same parcel of land to be completely discontinued as a triangular portion of the Harris Shore Road Class 5 highway right-of-way, subject to actual measurement verifications by field survey, under such terms and conditions as the selectmen may deem to be in the best interest of the town. Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0. Mr. Hayes.
Madam Moderator, I move Article 23 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. O'Brien. Mr. Hayes, would you like to explain Article 23?
Yes, this is a very simple one. Years ago, well, for those of you who don't know where Harris Shore Road is, if you're driving along 11B so that Patrick's is on your left and the old B Mains is on your right, Harris Shore Road goes off to the right, almost across from the Patrick's driveway. If you drove up further and looked across the marina at where their big winch crane is, that's the end of Harris Shore Road, so it's a big loop. Years ago when the sewer was put in, there was a deal made with the landowners that the sewer would go one way, the road would be relocated a little bit to keep the road straight, and that triangle would be given back to the landowners. It was never done, so in the interest of expediency, the McGraths have asked me to place this on the ballot. It makes good sense to me. I worked it out. Sheldon Morgan and I have worked through this, and he agrees that the grading should be done. The good side of this, besides the fact that we make this happen, is that that becomes taxable property and the McGrath's assessment will go up. Right, Pat?
Any questions or comments? All those in favor of placing Article 3 on the official ballot, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. It is a vote. Article 24. Shall the town vote to adopt the provisions of RSA 398 relative to the licensing of pawnbrokers? Majority vote required, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 3-0. Mr. O'Brien.
Motion to move Article 10 for placement on the official ballot as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Benavides. Chief Keenan.
Madam Moderator, I'm going to have Detective Jock speak on this. He's been working on this on a state level and has a lot of information.
In an effort to keep it brief, basically the way New Hampshire's laws apply to pawnbrokers, they don't apply to a municipality less than 40,000, which Guilford is one of them, unless the town adopts those statutes. Those statutes are established essentially just to provide some accountability and some record keeping when it comes to transactions as it pertains to secondhand items. Ultimately, if you've been a victim of property crime, you probably have a different appreciation, but ultimately it gives us tools to help solve crimes.
Any questions or comments about Article 24? All those in favor of placing Article 24 on the official ballot, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. It is a vote.
Crop TV.